Happy Friday. Hope you guys are excited for our last and final interview. We are here in the Superhero Battle Room again. Warrior superhero. Taking those people that are going on and done extraordinary things in transformation from their military first responder career now to go over empowering their mission in the civilian career. And we met a great guy that we're interviewing for Friday's name is George Ohan. He was an Army veteran and transformed his life into the film industry. And it's like, why not go over and glean the wisdom and the knowledge that he's going to bring and the tactics bring it in? So we're going to bring him in, and you're just going to be wild from the floor up, because every time I see him, he just has amazing wisdom to drop. So we're just going to bring him in. As we need booming in the background, we're going to bring George to boom in the background. Hey, George, do I have you?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me. I'm humbled to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for going over and joining. So as we start most shows, we love you to share your story. When did you serve? Where did you serve? And actually, how was the transition or transformation, depending on how you took it?
Well, I was in the Army from 1998 until 2006, active duty. I was overseas for about 3 years. My original job was on the tanks. I was in the Armor Corps. That's 19 Kilo is the MOS. And towards the end of it, when I say the end of it, a few years into the career, I had an opportunity once I became a sergeant to go into the Army Recruiting Command. And so I got transferred from Germany to Southern California. And that was kind of the start of the business and entertainment business and kind of the awakening of that. The U.S. Army was investing a lot of money in me to learn about YouTube and Facebook and all these technologies for recruiting purposes. And at the same time, they were sending me off to these Zig Ziglar training, like for sales training schools. And so I was getting this really unique approach with social as it was being born and set up and being new. And now this old school Army recruiting kind of sales thing. And so I just had this hybrid version of it. And my career was like anyone else's probably. There was days that you hated, and there was days that you would never give up for anything. And it's hard to describe. It's just truly hard to describe. There was days where I would have given anything to be out of the Army, and there was days where I would give anything to hug one of my lost brothers right now. It's a very difficult thing to describe. Some people who are civilians totally get it, and I don't know why or how or what, but they just do. They're part of that tribe. They understand, and the civilian didn't necessarily need to have some kind of association to this, but they belong. And my journey has always been from just along with people like that. Whether I was in the Army, out of the Army, friends and family members of people of the military, you either get a certain way of life or you don't, or you want to understand a certain way of life or you don't. And that's kind of like how my time was spent in the Army. It's, do we understand each other on another level? Can I make a stupid joke, you laugh, or you say something really, really deep right after that, and I just kind of get it? I've really been, I guess what I'm trying to say in a long, weird way is I've used my intuition and my instinct to maybe walk me along.
That's cool. So how long was the total serving? Was it 6 years, 12 years?
8 years total.
8 years
active
total.
duty, yeah.
So when you got out, was it an easy transition, a hard transition?
I'm still transitioning, I got out in 2006. And it's 2020, and I'm not transitioned, I don't feel like. I think about the Army a lot. Like, I shouldn't think about the military that many times throughout the day. I've been out a lot of years.
Yeah.
I've been out 14 years, man. And it's like the military's on my mind constantly. Units, things I did in the Army throughout the day, throughout me just living life. My mind's always on it. So I don't know how you transition. I help a lot of people try to make that transition a little bit less rocky from the things that I've learned and from the experiences that I've gained from talking to a lot of people and just listening. I've listened to a lot of people and I've learned a lot from the things they've been through. And some people will require a lot more attention to transition than others will. But we need to know that. We need to know, like, hey, this is a thing, dude, and it might take away some attention from work or from your family or for something. You have to focus on transitioning. Like, that takes attention.
Mm-hmm. So in that particular regard, so we don't usually use transition in our talks. We usually talk about transformation. So what did you transform to make it easier to get into the film industry and also to finally go and become this superhero that I go over and see?
Well, it's a daily transformation.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to change every day. You have to be willing to understand that something that you believed to your core yesterday could be learned to be false today. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh my goodness, like what? No. But you have to just say, okay, dude, it's false now, and just let it go. And that's hard, and it's a daily transformation. You don't even realize you're going through it until you really look back. You're in this kind of a haze. You're a soldier in the foxhole. You're taking heat. You don't really see it, and then later on, you get to look back at the battlefield, kind of like a general. You're like, whoa, I did that over there. Wow, that was me. And you're looking at it. You don't see it while you're in the fight. You don't notice it. In 2015, I was at the GI Film Festival. And I met this guy, Mark Bovey. I had met him, but now we were doing some, talking more serious about films and projects and everything. And Mark Bovey is the CEO and founder of this thing called Impact Releasing and Vetflix. It's basically the veterans Netflix.
Wow.
And now, fast forward to 2020, I'm working with him again. I'm his guy doing the marketing and helping him stand up his business and do some consulting and working with him. But at the time, I was a producer, and he was whatever. He was working at Universal or doing distribution with other things. Like he had this other thing going on. I didn't know I'd be working with Bovey in 2020. Mm-hmm. I knew he was a cool guy, and I knew I should be respectful, and I knew I should put my best foot forward. But in that instance, it was almost like less is more. I didn't have to sit there and pitch myself and go crazy on him because I knew there was nothing that, like, we can't really work together at that time in life. Mm-hmm. But 5 years later, I didn't really know it, but here we are, and we're a perfect match.
That's really amazing. That's really amazing. Yeah, that's something new that I just learned today from you. I didn't even know there was a veterans Netflix, and that's really cool. I'm going to go check that out. So
absolutely, and you're going to be a catalyst to now anybody who comes to you because of your relationship. You might possibly have that big boy conversation, big girl conversation, saying, "Hey, we could possibly get your content over here. Let's get a convo. Let's send a link. Let's see if Mark enjoys your piece, if that's a good fit for his thing." And it's not just veterans content. He also has Impact Releasing, which is patriotic content for first responders. He's got this thing called Military Mondays at the Movies. But because of COVID now, it's Military Mondays at the Movies at home. And it's going to be live streaming of original content. So people can't go watch original movies, but we have all this original veteran content and patriotic content that we'll be releasing. So you're definitely welcome to be a part of all that.
And that's ingenious. So that's the type of things to make that transformation, is taking those ideas, because I know a lot of companies that didn't go over and do that. And now with the COVID and stuff like that, I thought of AMC, that they like, hey, $30 million a month. And it's like, they decided to stick with theaters. So that's a cool transformation lesson that we learned. And I think that's one of the tactics you probably learned, is adaptability in this field, and taking that from the military front to the civilian front. So how are you helping others to transform? Now you're hooked up with the veterans Netflix, and you have your own film company. And how do you go over and help those others as you're learning these transformation steps? How do you help others?
I think that's a life mission, helping others. And I didn't know it. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I always feel like I'm helping myself. Mm-hmm. So when somebody says, hey, you're helping others, I'm like, that's cool. Thanks, man. But I'm really doing something for myself. And it's the most selfish way of looking at it. But it's like, does this benefit me? But let me benefit somebody who is also really doing something great. So if I only have this one little life, these few little hours, I'm always helping somebody transition to what they think they want to transition into. I don't try to talk somebody into, hey, you should be a producer. You should be a what? I'm like, hey, what do you want to do? What are you trying to accomplish next? What do you got going on? Okay, cool. Let me think about that. Give me a couple days. And my brain just works and I get back to him. And I'm like, hey, I know this person. I think you should do this. Have you looked at these websites? And I give somebody a laundry list of stuff to do. And very high percentage of the time, people do not do it. They do not follow through. They just don't do their part.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do what it takes to connect the dots to get there, to get what they want. They almost want to say nobody help me. But that's what I'm after. If you meet me, you could never in your life say, oh, nobody helped me. If you know me personally, if you've met me like right now, we know, you can't say somebody didn't try to help you because I'm trying to help you by being here.
Yeah. No, and
so that's it. If I'm coming across you, if you're my Facebook friend, if you're my Instagram friend, if we've met, you will not have a reason to say nobody's ever tried to help me, because if you know me, I have darn sure done something to try to help you.
Oh yeah, it's instant. If you and I can attest to that. It's like within 5-10 minutes, you're like boom, 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 and you're like, I had my sticky that day in my office, write that stuff down.
Stickies.
Like, that's like going over and I'm like, all right, that's a great idea. All right, implement this now, implement this afterwards, get some phase in. And then even if it's not direct, it's like indirect on going over and serving. So yes, George is the real deal. It's like, he's like, I'm giving you this. And then if you take a moment to realize, you're like, he just gave me $10,000 of consultation.
That's it.
I'm like, I feel I'm going to be on a payment plan for the rest of my life.
That's free of charge.
Yeah, no, it's a blessing of that. But it was like, if you actually charge what the value of that 20-minute conversation is. So if you get a chance to talk to George, no matter if it's a text message or it's a phone call or an email and whatnot, you just take that and you're like, all right, I got to take these superhero tactics and just take them down and boom, and just work on it. And that's the great thing that you're always doing in that regard. So speaking of that, we're going to give a few of many things that you've discussed either with us on the live or over in person. Is if you had to give your 3 superhero tactics for someone that's coming out of the service or maybe a veteran's going into the film industry, what would you go over and tell them to go over and start so they can go from that surviving mentality, just getting out, culture shock, to thriving?
Okay. You guys, there's 3 of them. It's organization, team building, and follow-ups. Okay. And I'm going to explain them, but and organization, team building, and follow-ups. And you have to know that this transition, these things must start as soon as possible, as early as possible. So if you're like, hey, I get out of the military in 2 years, you're like, bro, you better get to work. Sis, you better get to work. You only have 2 years. You only have 24 months to transition. Ooh, we gotta chop. Let's get to it. So people think your little 1 month, your little 6 months, your 12 months, whatever the military gives you for whatever little corny Camp Snoopy program they have set up. Trust me, they think they're doing a good job. They're not. They're failing in a major, major way. If you are a military veteran, if you are currently serving active duty, reserves, guard, whatever, and you have not done this transition to get out of the military, I'm telling you, you will be failed. And I don't want to be negative, but you will be failed because it's too much information too quickly. It's not explained far enough. It's smart. The concept's good. The idea of it is phenomenal. The resources are like next level, actually, on some of them. But you won't be able to see it because you're in the fog. You're in the smoke. You're in the foxhole. You will not be able to even notice what's going on because you're like, where am I going to live? Well, how much is the down payment for my house? Where am I going to work? Like, I can't even think straight, let alone transitioning out of the military. You have to start this early. So organization, okay? Organization. You see my wall back here. Well, this side of it, I was all kinds of everything on there. You have to have it out. It cannot be in your head. It can't just live in your head. That doesn't work. It does not work. And another thing, don't fool yourself because you're like you're the man or you're the woman at your job in the military, but you don't have this huge team when you're just doing your own thing, setting up your media company and doing, you don't have a bunch of privates running around and you're over there calling shots and delegating. There's no delegating. You're the only delegation squad. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, you're like, yeah,
100%. Yep.
You must be organized to the next level. Get organized the way an E3 or an E4 is organized, because they need to be, because they know that E5 is going to come checking in like, hey, what's going on? So they got to be organized. You need to be organized like that. You need to be organized like before you're promoted to an NCO or before you got promoted to captain or whatever. But like the junior level, we are still scared organized. Okay. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be in this loosey goosey, like, cool, I'm getting out of the military, I'm about to be civilian, it's all good. No, wrong answer. That's the one. Team building. You must be recruiting. It's like, well, I'm trying to be an IT specialist. I'm going to go over here and get into IT. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're going to need a referral, and you're going to need to have somebody's resume. You're going to need to know how to apply on usajobs.gov. You're going to need to have an in. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So don't think just because you're a little IT geek, which I was an IT specialist after I got out of the military, don't think you just don't need to know anybody. And, well, I'm not a talker. So you still need to make friends. You still need to keep people around. You still need to keep relationships intact. So that's true. You must, that takes attention and takes time and it takes energy. So be prepared to offer those things. Next thing is follow-ups. Okay. That was the annoyed, disappointed. When I talk to military veterans, you seem like, it seems as if people think as if because you're in the military or whatever, like you'd have this hard charger, go get them, never quit, rah attitude. But we don't. As a community overall, when people are getting out of the military, they give up quickly. As a whole, they give up. They have this like defeatist attitude. We should not do that. You have to think about your heyday when you were a champion. You got to go back to your winning attitude. You have to go back to when you used to love to win. You have to get that feeling of winning again. Some people have been negative for so long that they get used to just being negative and like, oh, whatever. So they don't follow up because they're thinking, well, if I follow up enough times with this person, I might actually get what I want. Somebody might actually be nice to you. You might actually win. Yeah, and you have to follow up like a lot, like 6, 7 times, 8 times. And then when the timing's right, something happens. Well, I tried to call that guy 3 times. He never called me back. So you know what? Screw him. Wrong answer. That's the wrong answer. It doesn't even make scientific sense. If you go and look up how many times does it take on a sales follow-up before somebody will get in business with you, it's more than 3. It's more than 4. It's more than 5. You're going to surprise yourself. And if you don't know that, you're going to become disappointed. So organization, team building, and follow-ups.
I totally have to agree with that, because on the physical side, it's 5 to 15 times on a sale, because I used to sell vacuums. I used to sell this things on the digital side. In the digital side, it's 15 to 30 touch points. I had a woman actively pursued, and it took her, and this is with another client I was working with, it took her 4 years of watching one of my clients' content, regular follow-up and everything. And then 4 years later, she executed. She came back to me and has been watching me for a couple of years. And then she finally was at the point of, okay, she pursued. And I thought, this is going to happen. And she's like, well, I'm not there yet. And yourself, it's like the veteran side of yourself is like, come on, it's been so long. But each personality style is different. Like me, it's like it could take 1 or 2 transactions to go, but I'm not the normative. The normative is like inch by inch is a cinch, yard by yard is hard. So don't take it offensive if you take, you look at the calendar like the Olympics went by, So, but that
it's
fruit, that person,
you have to know that's part of it. You have to know that's part of it, or else you'll get in your own head. You'll get in your own psyche. You'll get depressed. You'll start to get down on yourself. But you're like, it should excite you. It's like, go for the no, right? You should be excited. You're like, oh yeah, I need to get 100 no's before I get my 100, or before I get my yes. But if you like get 3 or 4 no's and you're done for the day, this ain't gonna work for you.
So that's fantastic. I thought those are probably the 3 most powerful superhero tactics I've heard in a long time. So kudos to that.
Thank you.
So I'd love to go over and hear more on this Fullerton Film Company. It's been streaming and the content the entire time. So what is this Fullerton Film Company? How do people go over and connect with it? What type of media are you distributing out there? Would love to hear more about that.
Fullerton Film Company is a home for people who are transitioning from hardships in life. It's basically the Uber of digital content production. If somebody's coming out of the military, if there's a spouse of the military, if there's a military family, or somebody's transitioning out of incarceration where it's very difficult to find employment, now you have this platform. If you go to fultonfilmcompany.com, hire us. We have all of these services. Anybody can find a customer. Anybody can find a client for one of those services, and we send you 50% of the commission. You get half the money for finding the client. And we curate another person. We have an entire group of content creators, and we find somebody to pick up that bid. Let's say you find a customer for $500. Somebody wants some digital marketing from us, or a service, a video service. We get the $500. We send you $250, and you could be in Texas, you could be in New York, Florida, anywhere. You get half the money as if you're the half owner of the business. It's like the Uber of digital content. But you don't have to go through this hiring process. You don't have to go through HR. You don't have to submit your resume. You don't have to do none of that. You just have to learn a few tactics about digital marketing, which we train you. We show you how to do it. We train you on our exact business model. So if you work with us for a week or two, collaborate with us, send us some leads, we buy the leads, and then you're like, you know what? Why do I need Fullerton Film Company? I'm going to go over here and do my own business. Good, bravo. That's what we want. The pie is so huge. We could never, ever, ever get to all of the content. As a matter of fact, if you break off and do your own thing, that means our program worked. That's what we want. We want you to go and earn your own money. We want you to go and earn a sustainable living wage without a 9-to-5 job. We want you to be set up for the future economy. That's what we're doing.
And that's fantastic. So literally, you don't have to have 28 million unemployment people. You could have 28 million affiliates connected to Fullerton Film Company and then making that revenue. Don't rely on $400 a week when you can make $4,000 a week. I mean, that sounds fantastic. So
absolutely,
that's really cool. So hopefully you guys go over on Connect.
It really empowers people. It really empowers people. And then we meet somebody who wants a small mom and pop sandwich shop. We can help them. Then we meet somebody with a $5 million budget, which that's what I was talking about earlier. Right before this call, I was on with a producer in Louisiana, and we have a film called Veterans Day. He's talking about Daniel Roebuck, John Voight. We got all these different people, Frank Stallone, and that we have the whole scope of it. Here's why it works. Let me explain to you why Fullerton Film Company works. There's a thing that people haven't really identified. It's called a digital content broker. And I'm sharing this freely, but I want you to know, if you've never heard this before, you heard it here first on this show. Digital content broker. If you go to monster.com, if you go to careerbuilder.com and you type in digital content broker, the job won't even come up yet. That's how visionary the conversations are on this show. That's what we're talking about. Something that they haven't even identified yet. And here's the deal. What if I give a grant to any veteran-owned business, $10,000, and say, here's $10,000. The only thing is you must go to Google and search, how will you spend this $10,000 for digital marketing? Most of the time, they don't even know what to look for. They don't even know what to buy, even if they have money, even if they know they want to market. They don't know how or what or how should they spend their dollars. There's PPCs, there's pays per click, there's SEO, there's video content, there's social media. It's like you'll get lost. You get complete. So digital content broker is a human which we train. We show you, this is the Uber part of it. And now you are a facilitator of conversations between regular humans who are business owners and the other humans who are digital content creators, and they don't know how to speak to regular humans. They don't know how to have that conversation. They don't know how to ask for $200 for a piece of content. And this person who wants the piece of content certainly does not know how to communicate with that digital content creator person. This is why the need for a digital content broker is born. Just like there's a real estate broker, that person facilitates a conversation between two parties who need that.
Yep, it's the same thing. I found out about trainer brokers about 3 years ago, and that elevated my career. I went from wanting to train because I was a trainer from the military side to I was at New Horizons Computer Learning Center, and they said trainer broker. I'm like, what is this beautiful gold word you just said? I wrote it down, and I connected with two people, and I started making $600 a day. I got to do the passion I wanted to do. The person then go over and hire me. And then I got referral money anytime I sent a good military or veteran contractor. So this is huge in that regard. And we're going from a brick and mortar world to broadcasting, as Eric Zuley, the CEO of my TV side of the house, is talking about. And that's huge. It's like we're going towards that world. So I definitely would recommend taking George's wisdom and going gleaning on it and connecting to Fullerton Film Company, because guess what? You get to just facilitate conversations, and then you can start making revenue.
The other part of this is it's based on, the foundation of it is based on teach, coach, mentor, which comes from the FM, the Field Manual 22-100, the U.S. Army Leadership Manual when I was in. Wow. And teach, coach, mentor is the doctrine that they use for the leadership. And so I started my own civilian teach, coach, mentor program in Compton High School. And this is kind of just a spawning of all that. This is still a part of all that. And I'm going to mention a word here. Have you ever heard the word recidivism?
I think you said it to me once, and It's resonating, but not the actual definition. So mommy, tell our audience, because I'm not going to remember 100% of it.
Okay. You're a very smart guy. And I love that you didn't know what it was. This is by design that very smart people even don't know this thing. So recidivism and anti-recidivism is a very, very important issue, which falls under the double bottom line of Fullerton Film Company. Recidivism is the cycle in which people go back to jail. Anti-recidivism is to help curb that cycle. We have to slow that rate in which people are getting rearrested and going back to jail. It's not like, hey, that guy's a dirtbag, he's always getting arrested. Well, why is he getting arrested? Why is he acting out? What is he doing? What is he doing that for? And so when we peel this back and we start to ask these questions, like, wow, the guy was stealing, he's feeding his baby, or what? I mean, whatever the situation is, a lot of the cycle with the prisons, with the jails, with the court systems are set up to where it's easy to go back. When a person's released from jail or a police department, when a person's coming in, there's never any sort of education about, hey, you're getting out of jail now. Here's a little pamphlet about recidivism. There's a cycle out there. You can break it. You can go get a job. You can go get whatever. No, they say, here's a business card to your parole officer, and make sure you get in touch and try to find a job. Well, that's dumb. So us, with this training, with the anti-recidivism program, we start training people about digital marketing while they're still incarcerated or while they're still transitioning out of the military. And so on day one, when they get out, they're already trained and working. Now they're earning income. If I'm trained in digital marketing, I can get out, and within 4 hours, I could be at the public library and do some digital marketing. Another 4 hours, I could have money in my PayPal account. That easy. And so, hey, I just solved the recidivism problem. I just solved the military transition jobs problem.
Yeah, you're giving purpose, you're giving belongingness, you're giving something that they can be passionate about. And that's our heart too at War Hero to Superhero. We want to do in that type of way, maybe not with film specifically, but that's a great concept that you mentioned there. And that's, we'll go
and this works with any business. It's not just film. This works with any business. Anybody could be associated with any industry, any whatever. We could teach you how to use this style to do that.
That's
$40 and a bus ticket. That's right.
That's fantastic. So I want to thank you for going over and joining. Those were great tips. You went way and above and beyond. So love for you to go over, as the audience is listening, connect with Fullerton Film Company. And also, if you want to lift George to the next level to our TV show, this is the way it works for everybody, is George's interview is roughly about 29 minutes and 29 seconds and counting. Well, we'd love you to watch it all and to catch all the wisdom, but 3 seconds is the minimum requirement to go over and give him a view. So we'd love for you to give a view. If he gets the most views in 72 hours, then he gets uplifted. Right now, Our last night guy, Phil Cook, is I think at roughly 300 views, so he's leading. So if George gets more than that, based on the 3-day rule, we'll lift him up to the episode next month, because that will get him exposure to 10 to 14,000 a week we're getting right now. And we want to get that message out there. So if you guys want his content to drop more wisdom and to go over and to glean and see it on your TV at home, go over and take 3 seconds for a view. But I'd highly recommend watching all 30 minutes and 10 seconds. Even if we're blinking, it's worth it. So, I want to thank you again, George, for coming on. And any parting shots before we close out?
No, there's no substitute for hard work. Joseph, thank you. He's logging in from Ghana. That's phenomenal. That's awesome. We got some reach there. There's no substitute for hard work. You have to do the work yourself. Don't wait for somebody to come to give you something. And what you're going to meet the right person who you think you need to meet, and they're going to ask you, what have you done lately? What are you doing now? And if your answer is nothing, that's another missed opportunity. So you have to stay active.
That's really cool. So stay active. This is always a conversation. So continue to add the comments to the feed. Catch us on any streaming media you like. And again, 3 seconds for 3 days. And we'd love to go over and see George on there. And thank you, George, for going over and joining.